Yo, what's good, everybody? It's the No Level Cap podcast. This week, we're talking about Tower of God, Return of the Prince. What's good, everybody? It's the No Level Cap podcast where we talk about all the anime, all the gaming, all the nerd culture, none of the bullshit. I'm your host, Sage Ashford. Like I said, this week, we're talking about Tower of God. I got everybody to binge watch season two. So everybody's kind of caught up. I know some people didn't watch season one. We're still going to devote the episode to it. We're going to see what happens. We're going to get into it. Um, I want to go ahead and just start with what did y'all think of the show? What do y'all think of season two so far? And I'm just gonna go ahead and get it off the ground. Like, I think season two has been a good start. Like, and I know this is kind of a controversial take for a lot of people. I think season two has been a great start thus far. If you haven't watched in a while, the first episode feels like a really solid introduction to the world, like a reintroduction to the world. It reminds you of the rules of the tower. It doesn't immerse you into all the things that were going on in the last season, like right off the jump. Like, I thought that was a good idea. Getting to see things from a newer character's perspective was a smart idea. These are things that, I mean, like, it had, like Terrence, we were talking about before the podcast started. It's been 4 years since the last time we saw this show. And so if they had just threw us into the deep, then it'd be like, hey, if you the first season, too bad, bitch. Like, I'm glad they didn't go that direction. I also like the new cast. They're different from the season one crew, but I still think most of them are likable. The young girl, Mi Sing, and her cousin Go Sing. Yeon Yiwa, the fire chick, she's pretty cool. Uh,
hmm
we haven't seen enough of her yet, but I kind of like what I've seen thus far. Even like the two guys that could actually fight. Hon and then Kang Horyung. They're cool in their own ways. They're still kind of different from like what we had in like the last season. Speaking of, I also like that it's 6 episodes in, and by episode five, they both basically caught us up on most of what we needed to know. We met back up with Bam at the end of
hmm
at the end of episode one. We meet Coon again by episode five. We learn what happened to that crew and what Coon's been up to in the last 4 years, or I think it's 6 years, like it's a 6 year time gap, something like
Something like
that.
that.
We've learned what happened in the time, gap, and that's cool. And then by episode six, we learned what drove Bam to join FUG. Uh, and so there's still another 20 episodes to go. And I like the fact that we're not being strung along on obvious mysteries. They've still got plenty more to show us. So far, and we're still, it's still early days, like I just said, I'd still give it about an 8 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it is really strong. And if you can't tell by the high rating, I'm also generally annoyed with people who think this season is so much worse than last season. Like, the animation may not be as good as last season, but also last season wasn't ever on no One Punch Man season one,
No.
uh, Kimetsu no Yaiba type shit, or even like what's that one show, Keem, that's out this season that's really pretty as fuck? It's
With
like the
story,
shonen show. That was another one, but the one that you was fucking with heavy.
Kinnikuman?
No, 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 no.
It also has to look good though.
Elusive Samurai.
Yeah, Lucy Samurai is good.
Okay, yeah.
Elusive Samurai is fucking gorgeous.
It's
That's
really
some
good.
top tier animation. Like, if I saw those shows like that, like Demon Slayer and One Punch Man, I didn't think the drop off was that bad, but it was significant. But like
hmm
Demon Slayer or Elusive Samurai, like that kind of drop off you can't have a drop off from something like that. Like, season one of Tower of God was solid, but it wasn't nothing that to like write home about to
Or
me.
no
So like,
Sakuga
I
or
think
anything like that.
not to me. I mean, I don't know about how anybody else feels, but yeah, I agree. Like, it wasn't no Sakuga type animation where you just like, oh my god, I gotta tell everybody about this. It was alright. And so, like, to me, I think a little bit of this is people just spoiled and everybody want to be a fucking critic. And like, it's okay to be critical, but like, y'all not, if you're not good at it, just give it a rest. It was just okay. So like, the animation last season was just okay. So the drop off, whatever. I'm into it so far. Rakeem, where do you stand on season two?
Uh, Okay. So this is really interesting to me because I remember when season 1 finished, and the ending of season 1 was so good, I immediately started reading the webtoon. So I'm pretty much abreast of what happens in this season and the changes that would happen. So people who were maybe anime only, who were kind of cut off guard by the changes in tone and like the characters and developments, I didn't have any of those issues. I think very much just like season 1, this was a slow burn in the beginning where we've been introduced to a whole bunch of new characters that actually kind of mirrored it a little bit in some regards, where like you didn't know who these characters were at first. They were unlikely companions. They were getting to know each other. Um, I think the opening to this season is still, even when I read it the first time, it's still kind of interesting. Like you have a completely new perspective. It's almost like a new protagonist showed up in season 2. He's completely different from Bam. He's way more talkative. He's way more lighthearted. His story is a little more stressful. He's got debts and things like that. I think the thing season 2 does better than season 1 is that you now kind of have a better understanding of like the whole world. It's like a lot more world building. Like with first, it was kind of like everything was a mystery. And this season, it's like, okay, people climb the tower in season 1, like the different struggles, these different groups. In season 2, you see where people go who don't make it, and they're still trying to make it years later. It's almost like starving artists, where the people are going into debt now, and like they're stuck on this one level, and they're building out these kind of menial lives to try to climb the tower, and people are capitalizing on it.
Would
What's up,
take
Sage?
it. I remember me and you, we talk about this a lot of times. It's not quite starving artists. It's more like some of these people become like the working artists. Like they never become
Yeah,
like the superstar. They're just
very
constantly
much.
like, hey man. Cause I mean, like, it's not like they flunked out of the tower. They just got stuck at one level of the tower and they're like, I mean, I guess this is where I am now. I'm stuck here.
I always thought that was fascinating. That like that people who got stuck in the tower was just created their own little society within it. And like they're just running these menial lives, trying to get back to it, and like their dreams were crushed. I think one cool part of this season was the new character was named Wang Nan, dude with yellow hair. He goes to the tower, and then like the kid who delivered his noodles is in there. The dude who's his loan shark comes in there. That just gives you a big context of like how everyone really their vision in life was climbing the tower, and they ended up doing these other jobs along the way, but their real vision was getting up. Other things I like about this season is like since they introduced a new cast, you kind of see another side of how dark, how much people are willing to do things in this universe. One big perspective I noticed was like what's the character name, Arc Raptor, the tall dude with the umbrella and the gray hair. He kind of is like a character who kind of cutthroat a little bit, but he has a soft spot for kids because they remind him of his own kid. And like the little girl that's with them, he knows how naive she is. And so like when people start coming around her, he's just watching out for her the whole time on multiple episodes. I remember that old lady comes up to her and like try to give her candy. He like, get the fuck out of here. I know what you guys are up to. That was really cool. That was actually really cool to me because that was really good, subtle world building on like how people take advantage of people and like go over each other. And that was already established from season 1, how it ended, the things that happened in season 1. That like this universe, people would do anything to climb this tower. They would take advantage of you, they would kill you, or whatever. So that was pretty cool. I do like members of the new cast. I think like Wang Nan's really cool. I like the development of Arc Raptor. Like you said, what's her name? Yeon, I think her name is, the flame chick.
Yeah, the
She's
flame
cool.
chick.
Like yeah, and the development of Bam, who's become like a completely new entity. How they've transformed him into a weapon to get to the king of the tower. He becomes a new persona, Juviole Grace, and how like Juviole Grace is a candidate to kill the king, and that perspective changes how everyone else around him views him. From a dude who was like so innocent in the first season to becoming this weapon of basically mass destruction and power, and how he's changed as a whole as well. That's also a cool dynamic, and it leads on to later in the season when the old cast kind of starts ruin their head again. You know they're gonna come to head at some point. So I think those are all positives. I think like the new cast has like some charm to them. I think there's better world building or building on the world building from the first season. It kind of goes into even more world building. I like that. I think my problem, I wouldn't say my problem with this season was necessarily just like the animation. There has definitely been a change in the animation style a little bit, but I think a part of that also is in the first season, if you notice, the artistic direction of the first season was very much trying to mimic the art style of the first season, the webtoon, which has a really unique. Like the first season of Tower of God, even the first couple seasons, doesn't look like later seasons. It's like the guy kind of was developing his art style and how it looks. It looks different, almost like penciled in a little bit. If you look back at the first season, you kind of can notice like little differences in how like it is compared to other anime. It's like a slight difference to how traditional animation looks. So when you come into season 2, that's more traditional anime kind of style, and there's like a light contrast. I think people can't really they can't articulate that difference, but I can kind of see the difference in the art style there. I will say like and like he kind of takes his time with like how the world is built, how they do these like competitions. We have to think and like play these certain games and stuff like that. In the first season, the animation really built up to these big when they got to the fights, like these really spectacle kind of fights. And in this season, it doesn't feel quite as big of a spectacle. It feels like a traditional kind of straightforward fighting scene. I think that's kind of where people are disappointed. Those big moments don't build quite as much. I think we still have a lot to go in this season, so I think they still can build to those moments. I'm very excited to see, like, since the last episode, the whole Mizuno situation and how they get around that. But so far, I'm gonna say I'm okay on the season. I'm not really like super disappointed or super hyped. I think I'm okay. I'm gonna give it like a 7.5. I think it's got room to grow to kind of grab me more a little bit. But of course, I also know what's going to happen compared to most people, so this is kind of a refresher for me.
Okay. Terrence, what about you? What do you stand?
So I went through season 2 today, episodes 1 through 6, and I'll say that for episodes 1 through 4, I liked the direction that it was going in. Like, I was invested. I enjoyed my time going from episode to episode. There wasn't like a point where I was like, man, this is dragging, or I don't enjoy watching this. I liked it quite a bit. I will say though that I think for me personally, the biggest issue that I have with season 2 is and it's kind of the problem with anime in general now. It feels like sometimes it just takes a little too long to get another season after the previous season. And I really feel like in the case of this, 4 years was too long. I mean, I was going to need a recap for this regardless, just to make sure that I had the events of the first season in my head all lined up correctly. But going into this, I definitely had to watch a recap to to remind myself of like, okay, this happened in season 1. These characters did this and that, and what happened here, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, the fact that this came out for season 1 came out in 2020, and we're just now getting season 2, and the fact that season 2 has such a different cast, I feel like it wouldn't be as stark of a contrast if maybe season 2 had happened at least by 2022. Of course, I want to give them at least a little breathing time to, anime stuff. I'm not saying that the next season had to come out like immediately or anything like that. I think maybe it would have been nice if it had been more of a traditional Core 1, Core 2 kind of thing. Like you had Core 1 that ended, and then maybe 2 anime seasons from then Core 2 had come out. I actually think that probably would have been perfect. Now that I think about it, I think that would have been a much softer transition from going from one cast to the next. Because I know essentially season 1 is pretty much like a prologue in a sense that's setting you up for what season 2, which really season 2 is the actual beginning of Tower of God. But for a lot of us, season 1 was kind of like our real start, and to have like 4 years in between that and season 2 is just, I think that's just a little too long, just my personal opinion. Some people may be fine with that, but I think that I would have liked it if season 2 had happened a bit sooner. But that being said, I still think season 2 is solid. Like Rakeem said, I don't think it's like the greatest thing ever, but I don't think it's the worst thing ever in terms of animation quality and art style. I can't tell the difference in art style. Like, it's not as like crisp looking, but it's not like a deal breaker. And it's the same thing with the animation. And I think Rakeem, you put it well, that there's not as much happening with the actual fight choreography in this season in comparison to season 1. And season 1 didn't necessarily have like the greatest fight choreography ever, but I think there was just a bit more like,
it was fluid.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I think there was more like actual fighting, like hand-to-hand combat, and like weapons combat in season 1 as opposed to season 2. It's like season 2, we're getting a bit more into like the magic of it all. So like it's more like just power fights instead of that clean hand to hand or like swordsmanship style combat. And so I think that makes a difference as well. But to me, that also isn't a deal breaker for the anime. I'm interested to see where things go from here. I think episode 5 and 6 were solid. The way the episode 6 ended, I think, was a nice cliffhanger and will lead us into the events of episode 7, which we're recording this on a Saturday. I think Tower of God comes out every Sunday. So
Sunday.
Yeah, by
Yes,
the time this comes out Monday, that episode would have aired, but we would have no knowledge of it. So, forgive us for not knowing the future. But yeah, I'd give this season so far, I think I'd give it a solid 7. Like I said, I've enjoyed it, what I've seen so far, but it's nothing that's been like wow worthy. But I'll also admit that for me personally, while I did like season 1 of Tower of God, it wasn't like the best anime of the year for me personally. It just didn't hit me quite like that, but I still enjoyed what I watched. And I think with this show, it may end up being one of those where maybe you're better off reading it than watching it. I don't know, because I've also heard from some source material readers that there's some stuff that's kind of been skimmed over. I don't know if it's for the better or for the worse. I can't comment on that, but yeah. Either way, I think this season has been solid. I don't think it's the worst thing ever, as maybe some people are kind of dooming it to be, but we'll see how things go as the rest of the season continues.
I remember people said that about season 1, and I read season 1. I was like, no, I don't know what the fuck they talking about. It's damn near 1 for 1. I was reading that. I was like, this is pretty freaking close. Like, I don't know what they cut. I guess when Bam went to the bathroom on episode 6, I guess they cut that. Yeah.
There's one thing that I know they cut because I was looking in like Reddit threads.
Mhm.
They cut the part, and people really wanted this. I think probably because it's going to come into play later. They cut the scene where Dorsey asks Bam out on a date, and then they actually wound up putting that into season 2. I guess it has to be important because they bothered to put it in season 2.
Yeah.
I did hear that.
To Terrence's points, I will say a couple of things. As far as too long to get renewals, I think that's true of a lot of media. Me and Keem talk about that all the time now. Like,
you sure do.
Wheel of Time, Rings of Power, like we both got into those, and like we're not as much into those now because it's like, dang, it took fucking forever. We never got around to watching Wheel of Time season 2, even though
I'll probably watch Ring of Power. I'll probably watch Ring of Power though.
We'll probably force because we made that as a like group thing, the Rings of Power thing. So we'll probably watch that. But it's just like that. That's becoming more and more common of like 2 and 3 and 4 year gaps between shit. Even now, like what was it? We were just when we were out earlier today, we found out, what is it? Blue Eyed Samurai. The next season of that is like 2026. That's insane.
Oh, wow.
What is it? The Gundam movie? Like there's like the only active Gundam project, what is it, Hathaway's Flash, like the first season, like the first film aired in like 2020 or 2021. The second film, it's like I think 3 or 6 films. The second film's still not out yet. Like everything just takes fucking forever now when they're trying to do quality, and I respect that to a point, but after a while it's like, hey man, I'm forgetting all these plot points. It's getting weird.
Yeah, the thing is like oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, you're good.
I was just gonna say just real quick that the problem is we get so much content that it's easy to get swept away into something else, and by the time that other thing that you enjoyed comes back, it's like, what was that again?
I forgot everything. It's like back when you used to play RPGs, you put it down for like a really long time, you come back, you like, what the hell was I doing in this game?
Exactly.
It's like that, except all the time now. The other thing I'll say about the fights, aside from switching to hand to magic, like you said, is that in this second season, every fight just about has been with characters that are like super outclassed. So there's not even a chance to see a close fight, which is where you would get like the cool back and forth and like the fun of it all. Like Bam, when he faced the Ranker, that dude was super outclassed. When everybody was facing Bam, they were crazy outclassed. And then quiet as kept. Well, actually, it's not gonna be a secret by the time this comes out. That fight that's coming up against Mazzino, Bam is outclassed. I won't say much else beyond that, but he's outclassed.
You see a man come up with a tattoo on his back and a ball cap in the fantasy universe, you know something up.
He like, let's go, baby.
Wild.
I know the creator had fun with that character.
Man, he had to have. And any other thing, before I pass it to Will and see what he thought about season 2 is as far as like it being not being the best anime the year it came out, I agree. I will say it's the best of those webtoon adaptations between
By far.
Tower of God, God of High School, and whatever that other vampire shit was. This was clearly the best one.
Noblesse.
Yeah.
This was clearly the best
I
one.
don't
That's
even
why
like
it's the
without
only
question,
one.
yeah.
I'm glad y'all I get to slander Noblesse again. I ain't like Noblesse vanilla. I ain't like Noblesse the manga. It was all boring. It been boring from day one. This was destiny. Don't come for me. I don't care. It was trash in the beginning. It was trash now. It was trash in anime. It's just trash.
Motherfucking crew. Yeah. But no, Will, what'd you think of season 2, bro?
Well, I'm gonna just go in and let it be known to everybody here. I'm kind of more or less the outsider because I didn't watch season 1 when it happened. So that threw me out. So I was like, screw it. Let's check out a recap so I can get at least a good idea of who's who and who's what. I got it somewhat. And with these episodes that I watched, I'm pretty sure I got to 6, but I didn't finish it because I had a bit of a day today. So I couldn't get back to it. So yeah, I do like it. I like a lot of the characters that are out there, especially you said his name earlier, Ja Wangnan, him. I ended up watching what I did have in the dub. So shout outs to Alex Lee. He made me like the character now. Yeah, shout outs to him. I also like a little Mule Love. Mule Love is quite a character, if you ask me. The ranker, him. I like this little guy.
Hold on. I gotta pause you right there.
What's up?
King, what you think about Love, the ranker, bro, when he was like after Bam won the fight, and then they was like, hey, well, he won. You just gotta go ahead and take that L. I mean, I guess you can buy him lunch. And he was like, fried chicken with some sauce. I was like, bro, what the fuck?
Hey man, I told you they like fried chicken like we like fried chicken. We 1 for 1. I had Korean fried chicken today.
Real quick, I've been struggling to wonder who he reminded me of. What's his name? Love? That was his name?
Like,
I was struggling to remind. I was trying to think like who does he remind me of, and he looks like an adult version of Boji from Ranking of Kings.
Ooh.
Yeah, he does. He does remind me of Boji. Like visually, that's a great comparison. Love is all the Proctors are very interesting characters. They like have a lot of different personalities being the Proctors.
My bad. Will, go ahead.
Nah, you good, because see, now I ain't gonna unsee that now that he done said it. So yeah, but right now I like it so far. It kind of sort of gives me like a bit of an incentive to go and actually kind of watch season 1 somewhat, just to at least get that in my head now before at least before episode 8 gets here. I'll say that. So I'm looking forward to that. I think the animation for this is okay. It's solid. I do like some of the characters and their motives and the reasons why they do it. Other than that, I don't have too many strong, blatant issues with this. It's something I can see myself kind of sticking with now that I finally sat down and at least seen this much of it. Pretty cool show, from what I can tell. And I know if I ever needed to get any more general information, I'm pretty sure I could talk to Resident Man Rakim if I ever need to.
Okay,
because he big into it. So yeah,
I just watched season 1 again, so y'all definitely can give you some pointers.
Okay, well, I definitely will appreciate you on that, man. But yeah, so far I give it a solid 7. Like I said, I'm not a season 1 guy. I didn't watch it when it came out, but it's very interesting to look at. I kind of like the premise of climbing the tower. I do like that. I feel like that could have been definitely something you could have sold me on a console, even if I didn't read and or watch it. So by all means, I'm here for it. I'll sit with the show. It's pretty cool.
All right, so let's do a little bit of a deep dive. So far, like, what was your favorite episode? And it can be season 1 or it can be season 2. I know for some of y'all, I know it's gonna wind up being like a season 2 thing. That's cool. Terrence, what's your first one or your favorite episode?
I'll just go with season 2 just because since that's the one that we're really talking about. I'll say episode 4, which is when they're doing the test with the rooms and having to essentially like take out the people in each other's rooms, or take out the rules kind of got
They're
confusing.
trying
at
to
one
build
point.
an army and then take out other people.
Yeah,
at the same
exactly.
Time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That one pretty much that was the climax of it, episode 4, because that's when everything ended there for the test. But I thought that episode was interesting just with the little twists and turns that it took, and also with the main character, not main character, Wong
One
uh,
now.
John
Wong,
Wong-nan.
yeah, Wong Nong.
Mhm.
With him getting mad at the pretty much the debt collector, like him just not only just like turning heel on the prince guy, but also
Prince.
like killing the it was
The
it was a
little
boy,
boy.
right? It wasn't
Yeah,
a,
it was a boy.
it was a boy.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was a
yeah,
kid.
Nia, yeah, okay, yeah. Essentially, I mean, they weren't a kid, but they were just young looking, right? The delivery
I
person.
think they were fairly young, but I mean, like ages in the tower are weird. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, the delivery person after the debt collector killed him. Sorry. Yeah, that like flipped a switch on him, and even when he came down to the wire and he thought about killing him, he still couldn't do it because that just wasn't the type of guy that he was, or type of guy that he is. Yeah, like that episode, I quite liked it. I thought that the pacing of it was really good. It gave a chance for everybody to kind of like shine in their own way, and you get to see the teams come together in that regard. I thought that episode was probably the best of the season, just in my so far out of episodes 1 through 6. I think that one was the most solid. Probably right behind it for me, maybe it would be episode 5, just because 5 we get to see the old cast again and what they're up to. You know, that's
That was
cool, and we see how Kun, he knows Rachel's lying.
You know he's lying.
He's got a master plan for her. He's right. All right, I'm gonna help you climb the tower, and then when I help you up to the top, I'm gonna push you off.
We
That's
push it
pretty-
out.
Yeah, so I thought that episode was good as well. But yeah, I think episode 4 for me would probably be my favorite of the season so far.
okay. Will, where do you stand?
But for me, like I said, for me being new to this whole thing, I kind of did end up liking episode 2 quite a bit because of how it kind of introduced some characters, at least with the whole, like, you know, with their powers and whatnot, like testing their strength and everything there. I thought that was really interesting, especially introducing, I know he's voiced by Johnny Young Bosch because I can fucking tell. That's, what's his name?
Bomb? Well, he's not Bomb
Yeah,
in the
well,
second season, but
Yeah, he's not that in this season.
Well,
I can't
Bam,
think of the
sorry, not
name.
Bomb, Bam.
Yeah, the name is slipping my mind, but I know him when I see him. Yeah, him showing up and just blowing everything out of the water, and everybody just looking like, "You can do that?" I'm just like, "Yeah, he can." It seems, and I hope none of y'all really want to smoke with him because it's clear he don't want to deal with none of y'all because he's a one-man army. Since he got it, he said, "I don't want to take none of y'all nowhere with me. I do it myself. I walk alone out here in these streets." So,
Such
so
an
yeah.
asshole about it too, though. Like he won that game and they explained how it was gonna work, and they were like,
Yeah.
"You can pick the team," and he was like, "Ain't no team.
Look,
It's just gonna
You
be
know,
me.
team.
Ain't no big
Motherfucker,
eight.
big
It's just
three.
big me."
I was just gonna say.
He said it's just big me. I'm out here.
In fact, the
yeah,
whole reason I had to play that game was because Bam didn't want to have anybody else on his team. They had to play that game because
Could
of
have
that.
just picked a team and moved on, but he fucked it all up for everybody.
He said, "Nah, ain't nobody going with me. What if I beat you for it, huh?" That's what he felt like. He was just like, "I'll swear with anybody in this room, and I'm gonna win." that's how he really sounded to me that whole time. He was like, "Yeah, I'm winning this one." But yeah, episode 2, because I like how it just kind of brought characters in and just kind of be like, "Yeah, this cast here, they got powers on them, but not like this motherfucker here." So yeah, episode 2 really is the one for me, and I do agree with Terrence on episode 4 as well because I love how it kind of set some stakes into place, kind of almost, even though I know it was just a test. It was kind of like, "Hey, do this thing here, do this thing, cooperate with each other if you can," and we see how that worked out.
I mean, like I said, I went back and rewatched the first season, so a lot of that show is still fresh in my mind, which helps a lot as far as like picking out a favorite episode. And so my favorite episode actually is in season 1. It's episode 9, which is like I was talking about in the car earlier today. It's like the perfect microcosm for the first season as a whole, because the first season gets into what it means to be chosen and what it means when you recognize that you are not the chosen one and what you're going to have to do from that point on. And you get to see it from multiple perspectives. First, you see it from Ho. The I don't know why I always associated him with angels, even though he didn't have wings. I guess because he kind of looked angelic, but
Yeah,
like
I can see that. Yeah.
yeah, so he realizes despite his, somewhat talent that he's not good enough, and he's going to get kicked out of the tower. He even talks about right before he dies, he talks about how the tower chose Bam, which is kind of funny because the tower definitely did not choose Bam. That's a key point of season 2 is that he's an irregular. But then you also get a chance to see it from Serena, who watches Bam and Dorsey fight later on in that same episode, and she realizes she's just not at that level and she's never going to be. And interestingly enough, when I went back and I was doing an article on this, so I went back and rewatched parts of the fights and whatnot, and I should have known when she was a match for Shibisu, the comic relief character. I was like, oh, you was never the truth. Like, you shouldn't be able to, you should have just squashed that dude. But he was like keeping up with you. I'm like, that's not good at all for you. But all jokes aside, she has this line as she's like sitting next to Ho's corpse, and she has this line about how the powerful will take advantage, and even like some of the people that claim to be benevolent with their power, they still aren't that benevolent to the people that don't have power. Because she looks over at Ho and she's like, this world is unfair. They looked the other way when things were taken from us, and then they got in our way when we tried to take. And I thought that was such a based fucking line for a show that's effectively just D&D, some climate a tower type shit. But like, that's just such a deep line. Like, when you really think about how the powerless, whenever they try to like get ahead, there's always someone in their way. Even though they also looked at it from the other perspective of how she always runs from fights. And like, I went back and like rewatching it, you see the fight where the green chick Anak, the princess Anak, is like going crazy with her weapon, and it's Serena and like Ho, who was like her partner, and then like her other partner, the dude that likes to sleep all the time, Lowry. And Lowry is like, fuck, I might have did something wrong, but he was still willing to fight it out. And Serena had kind of snapped and was like, nah, fuck this, and ran. And they all ran, like she grabbed Lowry and ran back into the cage, closed the cage door so that they could be disqualified, but they were safe. And Lowry was immediately like, no, I don't like this at all. This fucking sucks. And he turns over and he goes back to sleep. And Serena is like, you're a child. But like, in reality, that was what was needed. Like, you needed to have the kind of like depth of character and willing to risk it all if you were going to advance. So like, that was like, they set up a lot in the earlier episodes that paid off in episode 9. There's also that sweet fight scene with in Dorsey and Bam as they fight Quant Blitz. They're both showing off the determination that's really necessary to climb the tower. Like in Dorsey earlier that episode, and then in that fight, she proves not in the fight, but earlier that episode, and Dorsey proved she was willing to betray anybody to achieve her goals. They did make her a little more likable when she showed some affection for Anak, but like, she was willing to screw over anybody and kill people and stab people in the back. She's like, I don't give a fuck. Whatever it takes to climb the tower, I'm gonna do it. Meanwhile, Bam is like, he's willing to work as hard as he can, and he's determined to do everything the right way, even though he's already been exposed to the ugly side of the tower. And it's just it's a great episode. And even the way they win is cold because then Dorsey winds up tricking Quant because they can't fight at his level. But if you made me pick an episode from season 2, it would be episode 5, coming back to Khun, seeing Khun put together a brand new team. He's got his own plans. He's like figured out Rachel. He knows Rachel is, capable of walking. He knows Rachel is like definitely the one to betray Bam. And like, it seems like he even knows that she knows. Like, okay, like, so there's like a little interesting back and forth there, like a mental game. I fuck with that heavy. The little dark person that needs to like really have this revenge. It's just me, and I'm gonna hold that revenge in my heart. And I was like, okay, I'm with that. So I can't wait to get back to that plot point. So if there's a season 2 episode, it's definitely episode 5 that I fuck with. Rakeem, what's your favorite episode?
Yeah. So let me see. So from season 1, my favorite episode was episode 4, the Green April, where they started the Crown game, which is by far my favorite game they played. But it was a really basic between those 2 episodes. Starting with like, you got to learn more about Anak and like why she's the way she is, and why she's so intense and like kind of antagonistic towards people, and how much pride she has as a martial artist. I believe Dorsey kind of comes up in that time period, and kind of the contrast between Princesses of Jihad. Also, I like those episodes because you kind of finally get to see the dynamics of like, okay, what are all these characters like in under like duress? Like, how do they think? You get to see how they think tactically. How like each round people would choose to go or not go, and then like they would think tactically, hey, let's let these guys go this round. Hey, let's see what they're gonna do this round, or like should we take advantage of the game now? There's a lot of different elements to it. And then of course the introduction of Rachel happened in that time period where they had this team that killed all the other competitors in their round, and they just kind of got like ham-fisted into it. That was the first instance that you saw that everything that goes on in these tests ain't on the up and up. Like they can kind of alter things and like kind of cheat the rules that they made themselves, and not everything is as it's supposed to be. I really like those episodes. But for season 2, I actually, believe it or not, I really like episode 1 because it's like I actually watched the first season, and coming into it's like a palate cleanser. It's like, what is happening? Who is this? Wang Nun's situation, when you see him, he's this dude who's just like climbing the tower is his dream, and he's just hitting the wall constantly. He's put himself in heavy debt. He can't get past it. You kind of see how he's kind of eking out this existence, barely surviving in like kind of like a regular person in an apartment, in a shitty apartment, eating like low-grade Chinese food. And like the only friend he has is that little Chinese kid who actually delivers his food to him. And you know, they have their conversations. He's very likable. He's like a very cool protagonist. Even his weapon is like just some bombs he makes up and just throws at people.
And
He's not like
Pokeballs.
he's like Pokeballs. Like he's not like a strong martial artist.
Yeah, they definitely look like Pokeballs.
Yeah,
Yes.
they do, bro.
Probably on purpose. The one thing I like about him is like what he can't do with fighting prowess, he makes up with the gift of gab. He has like this kind of like very relatable social kind of talk, and he kind of talks his way through things. And so you start the episode with him like hitting this wall, especially against Yeon in a previous test, she burned the shit out of him and like eliminated him from the competition. And he starts the next test, and like he's hyped himself up like, I'm gonna get it this time. Like the protagonist power is coming on. I'm gonna believe myself. And you get in there and freaking bam, that killed everybody on the test. Ain't nobody around. He's like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna have to attach myself to this motherfucker because I ain't gonna make it if I don't make it. And he's like, hey man, you know what you do? You ain't gotta fight nobody. We just hold out. Just chill out, man. Just chill out. And what's crazy about it is like some of the stuff he does shouldn't work, but it does work. He has like a little bit of luck on his side, and it's just like very likable in that approach. So like just seeing him kind of like start to slowly, you kind of see his story as he's hitting this wall in the tower. And you see this kind of side protagonist meet the original protagonist, and like how much of a power gap there is. That also kind of shows you the growth of where Bam is now, where he was just learning how to do things, and he was a prodigy, but he hadn't quite learned the ways of the world. He's very naive. All that shit gone. He has. So yeah, I really like the first episode of season 2. I think it sets the tone very well of how it's going to be a very different season. How the character has already grown. You can see it visually. His hair is like super long. He had like a bowl cut. Now his hair is all the way down his back. That's how many years have passed. So like that's a nice visual representation of the changing of his character and the contrast to who he was before. I think it was done very well.
Okay. I do also really like episode 1. I thought it was very strong opening. That's another reason why I like season 2. It just agreed, like the way that it just kind of welcomed you back to the world worked really well. So with that being said, Keem, who's your favorite character?
Wang Nun. That's how it was in the manga when I read it. Just so likable, man. He's just like he's just easy to root for. You can tell there's more to his story. Like, why does he have that ring on his finger? And why is he getting nervous every time Bam and like the houses and that stuff comes up? Like they're really diving deeper into like the different, like the royal houses and like how the world's set up and like, you know, the Jihad and his organization. And there's more to his story and why he wants to climb a tower. And I think that's interesting. And on top of that, just seeing the contrast between him and Bam and how Bam has like become this silent killer, who kind of is focused on one thing. And if you see the most recent episode, you can kind of tell why that happened. And now you see why that happened. You have more context for it. It makes more sense. And then you see Wang Nun, he's like almost like keeping him from. I feel like Wang Nun's almost the comic relief that's keeping him from going over the edge, just killing people and like just eliminating all his competition, like not giving a fuck about nobody. He's kind of become the heart of the group. So I really like him. I like Wang Nun.
Okay. Will, what about you? Who's your favorite character?
It's Wang Nun for me, man, because he just grew on me immediately. Like I'm just like this guy here, really he's kind of just here in a way, but I can see how he's getting by, just like Keem said. I see how he gets by, and I understand it, and I can sort of kind of relate to it. You kind of got to run your mouth a little bit to get from point A to point B sometimes, because you ain't got the skills to pay the bills. Run your mouth, you'll get somewhere. Sooner or later, somebody gonna believe your hype, even yourself. So I gotta say Wang Nun just because he's very likable, man. I can enjoy him doing silly shit all day long, or coming out on top with a lot of that luck. So Wang Nun's that guy for now.
All right. Okay. Got 2 Wang Nuns. Terrence, what about you? Where do you stand?
Yeah, it's gonna be Wong. No, it's not gonna. It's not gonna. Be.
I knew it.
No, so funny enough, I was trying to find the character's name because I cannot remember his name, and maybe you all can help me. The character that essentially said that he's the devil, the one who's like arm and like the wing transformed.
Oh, him.
I don't know his name though.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Kang.
Yeah.
Kang Ho-Young.
Yeah. I like him because really his character design and the fact that it feels like there's more to him, like we're going to learn more about him as the series goes on, and Rakeem's making a face where it's like, yeah, he's somebody to keep an eye out on. Yeah.
You definitely are.
I just, even from episode 1, when he just showed up, and the fact that he had his little shoulder thing that would like change it to different objects, like he would summon different objects with his little shoulder thing with his attacks. I don't know. I just think his design is the coolest out of everyone so far. It's like everyone kind of like it's not that they don't like stand out in any way, but there's nothing that's like exceptional about them in the way that they're like dressed or like their attacks or anything so far. But him, there's just something about him that just really stood out to me design wise. And even in episode, I think it's 4, when he talks about like, I'll show you the devil, and like his arm goes on fire and like his little object thing turns into a wing. It's like, hey, I thought that was pretty cool. And it's like, yo, there's something about this guy. I want to know more about him. So yeah, even though we don't really know anything about him yet, like we haven't done like a deep dive into his personality. We've only seen him like a few times in terms of like overall interactions, but there's still something about him that has me curious. And I definitely want to see more of him this season. I hope that we do see more of him this season, because I like the way that I like his design in comparison to everyone else. So personality wise, I can't really say there's anything there just yet, but for some reason he just really sticks out to me. So I'm gonna go with him.
You know what makes
He's got
me
a
like
very video game like power, which I kind of think is cool.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah,
he just seems different from everybody. Like everybody seems a bit more straightforward, and he has something to him ability wise that makes him just different. So
Also, it's hilarious how he crushing on that girl with the glasses.
I was going to say, he showed up as like a tough guy, but then immediately turned into a simp. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I'm still rooting for you, guy.
You know what he reminds me of though? When I looked at him and seen how his power operated, I kept looking at him like, bro, you kind of sort of remind me of Shulk and Smash, bro. Because like every time the little thing changes, he gets something different. Every time Shulk changes something on the Monado in Smash, he gets a different like way to swing his sword. And I'm just like, that kind of remind me of that. So yeah, he kind of reminded me a little bit of that.
I thought it was kind of cool how it would go from being like a fist to a shoe to just other objects.
Like it was
depending on what it is, he gets a different upgrade.
Yeah.
Yes.
Almost like
That's
a Green Lantern power in a sense, like he's making different constructs with it.
Yup. I would say my favorite character is probably Coon. Like I like smart characters to begin with.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
like characters that have like a smart, caring side to them. So there's like an extra dimension. Because Coon immediately saw Bam and was like, "I'm gonna look after this nerd because he can't look after himself." And like, he's not a genius in the way that it's unbelievable, but he's smart enough that he's usually the smartest guy in the room. Like
Yeah.
in season 1, the way he outsmarted that ranker in episode 8 was cold. Like he was like, he had a plan within a plan, and Quant thought he could see through the plan, and Coon was like, "No, you can't. Like you don't actually know where I'm doing." And so like he saw through, like he knows how to make multiple plans to get ahead. And also in episode 5, like when he reappears, the part where he's like, yeah, I paid everybody in this room, so you gonna have to escape. And he ran out the door, and bro was like, "Yeah, I lied. I ain't pay nobody in that room." And like he still knocked him out. And then the dude tried to run away again. He was like, he got hit in the neck. He was like, "But you said, why did you trust me? Like I already lied to you once." I was like, "Yo,
That was clever.
exactly. That's how you get it done, man." Like, I thought that was dope. So, and then like I also like the way that he's just, like I said before, he's prepared to get revenge on Rachel. So like that's what I'm really fucking with. My other favorite characters are Bam and Ja Wang Nan. Of course, like I like Wang Nan just like everybody else does. He's comic relief, but he's got big dreams, and like I just hope he learns how to fight just a little bit, just to know how to defend himself. But other than that, I like him. I don't know that I like the part where he was like forgave old dude, or
It's
at
a little
least
weird.
not the way that he forgave him. He's like, "Yeah, use this life that Nia gave you." I'm like, "No, Nia just got brutally murdered, so like I don't think that he would have wanted to have this man live." But other than that, I like the fact that he showed mercy, because he just kind of saw through. He was like, "This is what the tower does to you. It just makes you into a monster, and you've become a monster. And maybe one day I'll become a monster, but today I'm not going to be a monster." I like that part. That was really strong.
Yeah, essentially it was like him trying to stop the cycle of everything, because it's like the debt
Right.
collector became that way because he fell into debt, and yeah, it just, the cycle would just continue. So I think he wanted to show that no, it doesn't have to always be this way. Like somebody can put an end to this, and so I'm going to. So yeah, I agree with you all that it was weird, but I respect it. You know.
I think if they had written it just slightly different, I would have been completely sold, and that would have made it my favorite episode. It was just that one line of like, "This is the life that Nia gave." I'm like, "No, that's not what happened." But like the forgiveness and the breaking the cycle shit, that was excellent. Bam, I like now that he's willing to defend himself, he's way more likable. He's got the power. He's willing to do whatever he needs to climb the tower. I will say he's not so much a killer, but he does have that attitude, and then just the like the part of being a part of that terrorist organization just makes everybody think that he will kill you. And he does have so much power that it's like, "Hey man, I'm not messing with this dude. Like I'm terrified. I don't want to fight you." So including like he's willing to even fight Mazino, who's like clearly a monster, because he's like, "Yeah, I've been killing so many people." I think he said he was killing rankers, and he was like ready to kill
Mazino, I believe, is also like Bam. He's a Slayer candidate too.
Okay.
So he also has the power to kill the king. So yeah.
All the more reason. So like, yeah, I do like Bam a lot. Now that he's because like there's still that element of him that's still a decent guy. Because like once FUG tried to turn on his homeboys, he was like, "All right, look, I already agreed to take him up the tower, leave him alone. They cool by me." Yeon almost got herself fucking killed talking all that shit. She was like, "Hey, I don't know him. I ain't really with him." Like,
man,
yeah, no dude was like, "Oh, you not? Oh, you not really with him? All right, well, let's see about that." Like, that was crazy, but like, I like that Bam was like willing to stand up and be like, "Hey, cut that out. What's up, King?"
Man, I think my line of the show happened in that episode when they introduced FUG, and they talking about like I think when the dude who trained Bam showed up, and they actually talked about, you know, be honest with you, man, we brought him in to kill everybody else with you. We're gonna make our own team of plants. They go up the tower with you. We're gonna kill everybody here. If it wasn't for Bam, we would have killed all of y'all. And I think one line I think the lady said was, "Did you think we were good people? We're assassins."
Shit. I mean, we learned in that episode they were not good people, because Bam technically being blackmailed.
He is being blackmailed, yes.
They was like, "Look, you gonna do what we tell you, or we gonna kill one of your you gonna start killing your friends." And I mean, like, he's not in contact with his friends, so he has no idea
Right.
if they're strong enough to defend themselves or if they just be helpless. So he was like, all right, I guess I got to do whatever y'all say, including go up against Mazzino, which the more y'all find, because like I have been because I was doing articles and stuff, I have been forced to learn more about this than I'm supposed to know. The more y'all learn about Mazzino, the more you're gonna realize like what Bam is trying to do fighting him is the stupidest fucking thing he could possibly do. But he just doesn't have an option. Like he's like, I gotta fight him. Like we just go figure it out. So but yeah, I mean like I like Bam a lot, and I'm hoping that we get to see more of him as the series goes on. After this fight. You know.
Yeah, you definitely gonna see more of Bam.
I mean, yeah,
He's still a protagonist.
you would hope, but I mean, like it is like the reason why I'm saying it is because it's split up among so many different characters now, and you do have this growing world. But yeah, that's gonna wrap this week up. If you like this episode, hit us with a like, a subscribe, and tell all your nerdy ass friends about us. Most importantly, though, do me a personal favor and have an excellent week. Peace.
Juviole Grace.